Today I'm going to be talking about running. I could be talking about dead legs. This is one of those fitness topics I think is really important for you guys. You want to get in shape. Maybe you've started a running routine and you're trying to figure out how to actually get past some of the points that you're going to get to. I've run several marathons now. I'm doing a marathon training program right now, training for my 4th marathon. So I've got some tips here. I'm John from BulldogMindset.com. On this channel, I teach you how to be a man. I teach you how to build your financial resources and achieve financial independence. And I teach you, most importantly, how to go from the victim mindset to what I call the Bulldog mindset. Click that subscribe button down below to become a Bulldog and change your life. I got this email from Grant Cullen, and he says to me, "Hey John, I have a fitness question for you. I'm a big runner who has been running for around 6 years. In the last 3 weeks, I have, quote, hit a wall. My legs feel extremely heavy or dead. I can only barely run 4 to 5 miles, feeling very sluggish and tired. I decided to take 5 days off in a row to see if I needed some recovery. I also bought new running shoes. After the 5 days were over, I went on a run and my legs instantly felt like they did 5 days before, dead and heavy. My leg muscles feel very light and stiff. I want to also note that I stretch during a little warm up and after all my runs. Any advice on what I can do here? It's so hard to feel like this every single run now for about the almost a month. I don't think the stretching matters very much. You should definitely not stretch before your runs. What I would say that the heavier dead legs is just accumulated fatigue. And you have to understand that when you're running, especially running a lot of miles and you're running for fairly frequently, basically you have two things. You've got your fitness level and you've got your fatigue level, okay? And based on where your fitness level is how much fatigue that you can accumulate before you basically, feel like shit. What you have to do is you have to time it right so that you are not pushing your fatigue too far beyond your capacity, okay? It's like your hit points bar. Okay, and you got to level up enough to have a bigger hit points bar. Okay, and so what ends up happening is like your fatigue is maybe your endurance bar, we could say. Okay, and as you run, you start taking off points of the endurance bar. And if you only have so much, your endurance bar is only so big, you can only run so much and so frequently before you basically drain that down and you go into the negative. Okay, and if you are not running enough to actually increase your fitness level and you're not resting enough to reduce that fatigue, what's going to happen is that fatigue will accumulate over time and it'll get harder and harder and harder to run. Okay, now 5 days is a pretty decent amount of time that you should be able to knock down that fatigue, but it might not be enough, right? Sometimes to taper for a race, you might be doing, like for a marathon, like 2 weeks. A lot of the marathon training programs, they start to wind down and taper for 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, now it depends on where your fitness level is and how much of a taper you need. How fast can you recover is going to be the question here. I wouldn't take just 5 days straight off. I would take 5 days and do lighter, right? Do like a couple of miles, and if you want to get that fatigue to drop down so that you're maintaining a fitness. Because as you stop running, what ends up happening is you could think of it as your fitness starts to go down very slowly, but your fatigue rapidly drops, okay? But you don't want to let that fitness level keep on dropping, because the longer you go, the faster that fitness, it starts to curve down at the bottom and starts to drop. You want to, even when you're tapering, even when you're taking a break, you still want to do a little bit of running. You're just going to reduce the mileage so that you can recover more and bring that fitness level back up. The other thing about this is that you have to be increasing the fitness level. So if you're doing the same routine over and over again, eventually what's probably going to happen is that you're going to get tired and worn out. You're not going to be increasing your capacity or your fitness level, okay, if you're not increasing your mileage or you're not increasing your intensity in some way. If you do something that you can do, that's possible for you to do, and you keep on doing it, okay, and it just so happens that you're fatiguing yourself more than your fitness level isn't really going to improve because you're not pushing any further, you're not doing any more. But your fatigue is still going to be accumulating over time. And so you do this for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time. You can imagine that you're just going to be more and more fatigued every single week. What actually work in this situation, which is somewhat counterintuitive, would be to actually run more on certain days, to do some longer runs. Okay, and that's the other thing that you should be incorporating in your running program is you should have one day a week where you're doing long runs. Now, I've made these mistakes before in the past. Okay, when I first started running, what I was doing is I was running 3 miles basically 3 or 4 times a week. All right. And I never got faster. I never got better. I felt like I was getting more and more tired, like I was getting slower. And I did this for several years. Okay. I was just doing this to stay in shape. What I didn't realize was that because I was doing it like that, I wasn't running enough. I was basically doing what I just described to you. Okay. It's better instead to stagger it a little bit. Just go for, one thing I'd recommend is that you just sign up for like a marathon training program, or you download one. And even if you're not going to run a marathon, or at least a half marathon training program, depending on what the distance is, it's got a routine, like a running routine in there that will vary the mileage, and they'll have long runs on like Sunday or Saturday, where what's going to happen is, when you run those longer runs, you're going to make it so that your fitness level increases, so you can stand longer on your feet and run longer, and you'll be able to hit those 3, 4, 5 mile runs, and it won't be as fatiguing to you because you've done a 15-mile run, maybe every couple of weeks or so. That's the general kind of theory. The other thing that you could do, which is probably might be worth it, is a running coach is not very expensive. Like you can get online running coaches for $100, maybe $150 a month. That's really not that expensive. Okay, you can do your own training program, but they're going to be able to help you as well. But it's not just a matter of just like straight running. If you want to improve as a runner and you want to not have the heavy and dead legs, then you're going to have to stagger it. You're going to have to increase it over time. That's why it's cyclic, right? You can have it cyclic within a period. You can have it cyclic where you're training up to, peak performance, right? Like I'm training for a marathon, and every week I'm doing a little bit more mileage. My longer runs are getting a little bit longer, and eventually I'm going to peak at that point. And when I do, I'm going to either have to make a choice to either like do the race, okay, and perform, like take a little bit of a taper and then perform while I have my peak fitness at its highest level, and I'm getting as much rest as I can to optimize that. Or I'm going to have to keep on going and keep on increasing the intensity. I can't just stay there. If I just stay there, what's going to happen is what is happening to you. I'm going to get the heavy and dead legs. I'm going to get fatigue, because that fatigue will accumulate over time, okay, because I'm not improving the fitness. All that I'm doing is draining myself repeatedly over and over again, and because my fitness isn't improving, in fact, it'll probably go down if you do the same thing, because your body will adapt, is that it'll become more and more fatiguing, which it seems counterintuitive, but that's why it's important to vary it a little bit, to have some kind of periodization, to have some kind of plan in there, and that just resting is not enough. That's why I say get on some kind of program. You should be training for something anyway, right? I think it's better. When I first started running, I was just running for the heck of it. But it's better to have a goal, right? Set a goal to do a half marathon, go into a half marathon training program, or set a goal to do a marathon and do a marathon training program. It'll keep you more inspired. It'll get you more motivated, because you'll be aiming towards some kind of target, some kind of goal, even if it's arbitrary, it doesn't matter, but it'll give you something to aim for, and it'll give you a training regimen, something to follow that's going to ensure that you're actually making progress, instead of getting into this situation where you feel discouraged, where it feels crappy to run. You just got to run through it. Sometimes in my training, I have found that I go through periods of time where it's like, I don't understand, like my legs shouldn't feel this dead, I shouldn't feel this tired, but it does, and then I just keep on running, and I just keep on running through it, and then a couple weeks later, a month later, I feel good again, and I don't know why, right? It's just something that happened. You just got to run through this. It's sometimes, like, you would think that taking a rest would make you feel better, and it doesn't, right? I took big rests and running for a long time to experiment with this, and it doesn't. I feel worse after the rest a lot of times. So if you haven't already, by the way, make sure you take the Bulldog Mindset quiz and see what your Bulldog score is. I've got some tips for you guys to improve your Bulldog score. And if you haven't already, click that subscribe button. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.